All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One and all, we do mean all. It's your boy Nick here with the Eunice, doing a quick little stream on a Sunday. I meant to stream yesterday, but I didn't have everything set up, and so doing the stream on Sundays now, today at least. So, welcome, guys. Let's make sure this works.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Well, I'm trying to do my best here under really difficult circumstances.
Yes. Oh, let me,
Who can relate? Woo!
turn that down a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to do my best here under really
Hit that one
difficult
accidentally.
circumstances.
All right, what about this one? Yes, we are good to go, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. Just a few things I want to go over. One of them, should I get right into it? I might as well, just in the interest of brevity. And let me make sure I'm coming out. Yes, loud and proud. We're looking good. We're live. Let's go. I've been working on a new project that I wanted to kind of bring to the group, or at least test out in stream. It started with sort of little pieces of writing that I was doing over the last year or two. And it really, or I'll say it this way, I made a video a while back that was kind of a one-off, but I had written more material for it, and I'm kind of revisiting that project now. So let me do a little premiere of what this video was to give you guys a sense of some of the project, and then what I've worked on since then I think will be even more interesting. I hope. Let's hope.
Who can relate? Woo!
So let me, I guess we'll just watch it. And then it is kind of, I don't know if this is a schizo thing to do, but I kind of try to pack as much information into some of the videos as I can. I don't know that translates to rewatchability, but, you know, there's a thing that YouTubers do sometimes where they're like, okay, if you want to read more, pause here and read this text block. And, you know, you can always pause the video and just read something that otherwise you aren't able to read in just when it flashes on the screen. So I kind of take a similar approach, which is hiding, I don't know if you'd call them Easter eggs, but just a lot of information. So as we watch it, maybe I'll sort of point some of those out. But without further ado, let's fucking go.
While it may seem strange to think of today, there was a time when post-humans were considered regular humans. This was long before the biohuman mandate of 2141, which required all bioengineering and bio-augmented persons to register and submit themselves for extensive testing and mandatory quantum slavery. In the distant past, humans once also had to manually connect to the new web. New web users of today would find that impossible, as the instantaneous info uploads and neuro downloads, which make up 96% of each of our unique personalities, social motivations, free think matrices, moods and polymoods, as well as our mandatory workflows and our free time workflows, are received from the new web. Imagine having to manually connect to your GCCP locality server in order to receive your daily gigaration. What a cumbersome task. Luckily, with the recent advancements we have received thanks to the Neurodyne Institute and thanks to the Biden Holo Accords of 2084, we are thankfully forever joined to our computer sub-genius. This means no more pesky undesired activities, unproductive moods, nor any disserviceable attitudes. Plus, all mind finds are auto-deducted from your biofinance account immediately. Gone are the days of receiving a service interrupt, civilian removal, or device lock in the middle of an important meeting or during designated family hour. These days, you are made aware.
Alright, I might as well pause. I guess I'm just letting it run, but there's a part here.
Or during
Designated family hour, DNA birth family hour is still forbidden. Okay, so again, there's only a minute left, so I'll let it play through. But you're getting a sense here of sort of speculative fiction about the future. It's a sci-fi world, and this video at least takes the form of a public service announcement meant to announce the, I guess, the new updates and new features that are available, and as well sort of introduce the topic of post-humans and I think a few other ideas. So again, we've got a lot of themes. Technology, obviously, transhumanism, totalitarianism or techno-totalitarianism, and a few other kind of just, I guess, nexuses of social control. Let's continue.
The family hour. These days, you are made aware of your mind fine or found guilty of a mind felony as soon as it happens.
Yes, mind fines. The mind fine management at your fingertips. Again, I don't know, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but again, it's interesting to juxtapose those two ideas of convenience for something that is very clearly an imposition, or a what would you say, an oppression in some sense. Oh, but the added convenience of being able to manage your mind fines directly from your device, that has to be worth something. And so that's somewhat of the origin of the, I guess, satire or irony in this case. Let's continue.
And who knows, hopefully in the coming months we will be able to serve you these neuroviolation updates before they even happen.
Kind of a nod there to, what is it called, pre-crime? Or what's that Philip K. Dick story they made into a movie? Oh, what is it called? With Tom Cruise. The Minority Report. Minority Report, you have the precogs that can tell, determine a crime before it happens, that kind of thing. Hopefully we can even do that with neuroviolations in the future.
Thank you, favorite citizen. Enjoy our world.
Yes, thank you, favorite citizen. Enjoy our world. And so again, at the bottom throughout this video, you have the Chinese subtitles. Sometimes I don't expect anybody to freeze frame and try to translate them. Sometimes they're just parroting what's being said in the audio voiceover. Other times they're kind of, I guess, jokes or mistranslations, whatever. But I guess if you could speak Chinese, maybe it would be funny, but I don't expect most people would. But anyways, this English voiceover that I recorded, it's kind of difficult to hear throughout the video, but there's also a much quieter Chinese voiceover that's running at the same time, sort of in the background. So let's wrap this up. Okay, let me go back just a second. Okay, so I think this works out to be the same. This should be 2,333. Is that what that is? So the year 2,333. I guess that would be the 24th century. But the world that I'm essentially trying to build is something that would be taking place in the 23rd century, which would be, what would that be, the year 2200 until the year 2300? Yeah, the 23rd century. And then, you have Russian here. I guess that's Tamil or Sanskrit or whatever. And Arabic. And I'm not sure if there's anything else. Okay, yeah. So here's one where you would have to pause it. Report all mind crimes. Report your assigned friends neo-birth adoptifam members, and anyone else suspected of mind crime. Number 2, submit for quantum slavery. Your control number will be called monthly for time in the quantum workhouse. If you have spent 3 eternities in a workhouse, you will be assigned a new one. Number 3, upload your daily mind log. 0 tolerance for empty mind log entries. We will not tell the population again. Submit. Well, that's kind of on the nose, totalitarianism. But number 4, retime your DNA 12 cells. A proper unit is a well-timed unit. Retime your DNA 12 cells in the 3, 5, 8 ports every 44 hours. Resist sleep. Report and retime daily. And number 5, recharge each night. You are responsible for keeping your neo-birth Adoptifam members charged each night. Severe penalties follow for anyone who has not connected to the new web. And so again, just sort of general techno-authoritarianism. And then official info office for these once united states. So you're getting a little bit of a picture of maybe what the political reality is of this world that I'm evoking here.
有活力的全新城市中心，它像羽毛和鳞片一样，与城市共同生长。
Oh yeah. Report mind crime. Get a new child bride. The OUSA HR department. Hedonic Heroes program. Report mind crime. Get a new child bride. Yes, okay. Yes, thank you to those patrons, those early patrons who supported that work. I wouldn't have been able to do that without you guys. If you do want to support the show, you can sponsor us. I don't have any new sponsors to show today, unless, I don't know, I'll save that for the future. And you can also super chat the show. I don't know that super chats are working right now, but with that being said, okay, so that was a video that I did at least 2 or 3 years ago by now. I want to say at least. When was that? Yeah, 2022. At the end of 2022. So almost 3 years ago? Or 2.5 years ago, I guess? Whatever. Okay, so I've been working more on that project. So that one leans a little bit harder into the sci-fi, future, techno, totalitarian system. But I've been working on other, I guess, what would you say, elements of world building that feed into that same project. And essentially it all revolves around speculative fiction about the, 23rd century. Now, why would somebody do this? Like, what is the thing? I'm not really big on sci-fi. Like, I like Philip K. Dick stuff, but I'm not necessarily that much of a sci-fi writer. But why would you be interested in doing something like this? Well, part of it is because there's really no, how would you say this? There's not many sort of art projects that have a distinctly right of center slant to them. I remember they made that video game Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever, which was based apparently on a tabletop role-playing game called Cyberpunk, I guess 2020 or something. And I won't say that game had like a right-wing slant, but it really did kind of foretell or prognosticate a lot of the issues that we do see with woke Marxist ideologies and such. And again, I know, like, if you've been keeping tabs on the culture war, like, I'm sure people talking about cultural Marxism is as bland as and tired as the Marxism itself. But again, these are ideas that fester even under a Trump presidency. These are ideas that very much still hold a lot of capital in the population's, or in the zeitgeist, and especially in the ruling elite's view. Very much so. And so I wanted to kind of make something that was, I don't know if you would call it an ARG, but some kind of storytelling that depicts this 23rd century world. And I didn't necessarily get that idea from this, but I might as well bring it up just because it's an interesting window into how these things sometimes work. Let me pull this up. Oh, whoops. Okay, the Camp of the Saints. All right, the Camp of the Saints. So, or let's just go to the Wikipedia page. So, the Camp of the Saints, French, Le Camp des Saints, is a 1973 French dystopian fiction novel by author and explorer Jean Raspail. This guy, apparently. What a mug. That dude is French for sure. A speculative fictional account, it depicts the destruction of Western civilization through Third World mass immigration to France and the Western world. Almost 40 years after its initial publication, the novel returned to the bestseller list in 2011. Very interesting, right? On its publication, the book received praise from some prominent French literary figures, and through time has also been praised by some critics and politicians in Europe and the United States, but has also been widely criticized by both French and English language commentators for conveying racist themes, xenophobia, nativism, monoculturalism, and anti-immigration content. Monoculturalism, what an interesting thing to accuse someone of. Like, again, I can see how monoculturalism is detrimental in a place like the USSR, or even China for that matter, where you have a governing body that controls vast amounts of territory and many different people groups. And, they call it, what do they call it? Russification. During the Soviet Union, when they attempted to, Russify. Yeah, is a form of cultural assimilation in which non-Russians adopt Russian culture and Russian language, either voluntarily or as a result of deliberate state policy. I can understand that, but again, who else is France for but French people and people that speak French? So again, xenophobia, nativism, sorry, you can't see that. Xenophobia, nativism, monoculturalism, and anti-immigration content. The novel is popular within far-right and something else circles. Oh, Lord. Well, again, popular within that, but it's not created in those terms. And it's very funny how, like you would say, prominent French literary figures and even critics and politicians would praise it because it came out during a time when these ideas were not considered far right or nationalist. It wasn't considered, what would you say, evil to say, hey, our world would be our world as France would be significantly different if we took on tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of non-French people. That used to be, you at least used to be able to talk about that it would be different. And how would it be different? Would it be better, or would it be worse? Who would it be better for, and who would it be worse for? And what would be lost in the process? Okay, so here's the plot. Something about a gong. This is interesting. It says, an Indian gong farmer. You guys see this? An Indian gong farmer. Gong farmer is a term that entered use in Tudor England to describe someone who dug out and removed human excrement from privies and cesspits. The word gong is used for both a privy and its contents. As the work was considered unclean and off-putting to the public, gong farmers... Alright, so whatever. They're basically poop farmers. Turd farmers. Yes. The Elizabethan turd farmers. Whoops. But I digress. Okay, so it's an interesting book, and, again, it talks about mass immigration to France. And so, somewhat in the same spirit, I've been creating some of the, some material to go along with the video I just showed you.
Humans once also had to manually connect to the new web.
Which is a sort of more dystopian, technophilic future. But let's look at, let's see. How do I do this? Let me pull up the first exemplar that we will look at in today's brief stream. Okay. Bear with me one moment, folks.
Well, I'm trying to do my best here under really difficult circumstances.
Why is this so difficult? I'm trying to find this, okay, wait, here we go. Oh, I might as well... No. Okay. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Why would you do this to me? Here we go. All right. Okay, so here we go. This is a brochure from the 23rd century. By the way, let me say what's up to the boys. Is there anybody here? Yes. Picard Siet, what is up, bro? Dragon King, hello, Dragon King. I would recommend using the Wayback Machine to compare the old version of Wiki article to the current one. Very interesting, very interesting. And Rusty Shackelford says, many insulated cultures around the world. Monoculturalism, one global grid of consumer slop equals multicultural. No, 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 let's not get... let's not... Please do not disparage my good name, Rusty Shackelford, you bastard. But let's get back to it, guys. So, from decadence to submission, a study of the godless age. All right, so what is this? This is come on. This is an educational brochure by the Al-Barlin Museum of Folk History, done by the IPRA, right? The Islamic People's Republic of Alemania Ministry of Truth. Now, so what is this? What exactly are we going to learn from this brochure? Well, these are the pre-IPRA peoples, before and after. Before the blessed ascendancy of the Islamic People's Republic of Alemania, the lands of the former European horde lay in disarray, their inhabitants a people bereft of noble lineage. Their pale, sickly skin and weak constitutions were a stark contrast to the dark olivine beauty and divine rigor of the chosen Ummah. As a non-race, they most closely resembled the lighter complexion of the Han Chinese, but lacked the disciplined might of the Han, whose superior genetic, facial, and spiritual characteristics remain an aspirational ideal across the lesser races. It was this servile European stock, ignorant of the harmony of rightful Islamic rule, that once claimed dominion over these lands. The worshippers of Papal. Among the Kafir European ranks were those known as Christics, adherents to an idolatrous faith that placed its devotion not in Allah, but in Isa ibn Maryam as a god, and the Papal, an earthly entity they worshipped as a deity. These Christics divided themselves into various warring sects, each claiming the true path, yet all equally blind to the one truth of divine submission. Their sacred texts, corrupted by centuries of human interpolation, offered them no defense when the call to redemption was finally sounded. The Neo-Jahiliyyah and their wicked laws. For centuries, the godless Europeans toiled under a system of self-made laws, believing they could govern themselves without divine guidance. These decadent secular laws, which they dreamed would preserve their wickedness forever, instead served as the scaffold for their own dispossession. While these man-made laws did pave the way for the ascension of the great Muslim nobility who led the Great Redemption and finally secured peace in these godless lands, they remain an eternal testament to their boundless folly. For over 100 years, their servile appeals to toleration saw them open the gates to their own untimely reckoning. Yet even despite these open gates, their aversion to righteousness was immeasurable. It was not until the year 2081, Allah be praised, that the natural ordinances for honor killings were restored and the divine wisdom of fatwa became enshrined in their secular law. All right, so yeah, you get a little bit of idea of where they're coming from here, and this is meant to be, the year 2230, and these are the years on the Islamic calendar, or I guess calendars. Let's move on to the next page. Early servants of the Great Redemption. Yet, despite their lowly, servile status, there were a select few among the European hordes who foresaw the dawning of our new Holy Republic. They were the priests of this godless age, the secular scholars and media scribes, the tolerati, who would bow to the toleration of all things above all things. These figures began the arduous work of forsaking and chastising their more resolute brothers and elders, paving the way for our eventual righteous rule. From these secular sources, we can definitively chart the origins of the IPRA. from the first Great Wave beginning in the 1960s and the second Great Wave in the 2010s through 2030s, to banning political unions hostile to our ascendancy in the 2040s, to erecting some of our most revered mosques and memorials in the 2060s. These secular priests were instrumental to realizing our divine destiny. The most esteemed international scribes of the time found it baffling that no national calls to prayer were heard in these lands until the year 2073, a fact continually held against the Kafir European remnant until their ultimate surrender and liquidation in the Great Redemption. And here we even have a picture of these tolerati, the, what are they called? Yeah, the secular priests. What does it say? Yeah, secular scholars and media scribes. And this image, unfortunately, or obviously, had to be corrected according to Purity Directive SH 23-470-339B. With just a little bit of veiling going on. The path to submission. These European servants of toleration brought all manner of impediments and accusations against those who were not prostrate enough to their secular gods. These dim beacons of light, these minor prophets of the pen and script, sowed the seeds for the birth of the IPRA even as early as 1421, 2001 Kafir year. And Kafir means obviously infidel, if you're not familiar. These European servants of toleration brought all manner of impediments and accusations against. Okay. I guess I doubled up this part. Okay, so that's the same part. Okay, so without their ceaseless efforts to demoralize their brethren and open wide their gates from within, the earliest Al-Muhajir, which means pilgrims, may never have first settled in these godless lands. Their media cathedrals touched the sky, and they enjoyed great luxury as they campaigned tirelessly for the sectarian ascendancy that would lay the foundation for the Great Redemption. Oh, sorry, let me... Ghostal says, Islam is right about women. They've got some interesting ideas, I'll admit that. It wasn't until I saw things firsthand. Let me just update the chat window on screen. It wasn't until I saw at the Muslim gate in Jerusalem how the Muslim homies how they react. They just kind of hang out around the Muslim gate, and they'll watch Western women, you know, without being covered, or you would say dressed relatively immodestly, not immodestly to our decadent eyes, but they would say immodest nonetheless. And they are, it's wild to see them, to see how they basically just lock on to these women with their mouths open and are just enjoying a feast for the eyes. It was not until I witnessed that I was able to say, okay, maybe they do have a point that women wearing a veil is maybe there's something to it, in the sense that I don't even know what the point I'm making at this point. But here we go. Their media cathedrals touched the sky, and they enjoyed great luxury as they campaigned tirelessly for the sectarian ascendancy that would lay the foundation for the Great Redemption. Throughout history, we see their growing influence and control, defending our freedoms, attacking our enemies, excusing our criminals, funding and releasing our freedom fighters, causing outrage on our behalf, and dismantling their own nations to appease the forefathers of the Great Redemption. We are grateful for their long history of sacrifices, and each who survived the Great Redemption was given a compassionate execution for their services in liberating their lands from their own kind. The past was dark. The present is radiant. The future is eternal. Allah's will be done. And then here, just at the end of the brochure here, we see visitors are encouraged to explore the many enlightening exhibits at the Al-Barlin Museum of Folk History. Witness the fate of the conquered in the Chamber of Lost Identities, or walk the great procession of Repentance Hall. For those who seek tales of valiant struggle, the Hall of Conquered Christics and the memorials to IPRA freedom fighters in the battles of Al-Ambur, Ferengi Fort, and Al-Munik proudly commemorate the inevitable triumph of righteous submission over decadent defiance. Well, there you go, boys. That is just an early peek at some of the material to be created for this project. And there's one more, which maybe is even a little bit more. Now I'm second guessing if I should do this. If I should go into this. Oh, fuck it. I might as well. This one. Now, or let me say this. I'll give a little bit more background. So, what has happened in the year 2000, in the 23rd century, right? By the 2020s, I guess you would say. Now, how would you say that? The year 2200. What has happened by then? Well, checks notes. Where is this? Okay, so in the 23rd century, the territory of the United States is known as Kwangmigu, which is the once beautiful country. Here's a little trivia for you guys. The name that the Chinese call America is actually, when they say like United States, what they're really saying is beautiful country. Because apparently, I think the story is that when the first American people came to China or something, they looked at the flag that they were flying and they said, oh, what a beautiful flag. So this is the country of beauty that brings such a flag, right? Stars and Stripes, boy. And it was probably the, OG Stars and Stripes, where they have the circular, what do you call that flag? The Revolutionary flag or whatever, with the 13 colonies for stars. But they said, what a beautiful flag. This must be a beautiful country. So when Chinese people say United States, they're saying the beautiful country. But in the 23rd century, the territory of the United States is now known as Guangmigu, the once beautiful country, having lost a war to China and become a puppet state of the GCCP. So the GCCP is a... hold on, let me put these on screen so you at least have some reference to look to. Bear with me. Okay. This should work. Okay, yeah. So in the 23rd century, the territory of the United States is now known as Guangmigu, the once beautiful country, having lost the war to China and become a puppet state of the GCCP. So the GCCP was a concept that was brought up in that original video I showed at the beginning. And I've used it mostly for the global Chinese Communist Party, which sort of refers to their territorial holdings, or it's like the USSR, but the GCCP. And damn it, if Northlander says, is this the Rick Wilson Hobnobcast? This is not the Rick Wilson Hobnobcast. But it's also not the Nick Nilsson Slobknobcast. You bastard. This is just the Nick Nilsson live stream. Special Sunday edition. Okay, so here we go. The GCCP gained control over the territory after America was severely weakened by decades of balkanization and internal civil wars along, unfortunately, ethnic lines, with African Americans, who by this point have voluntarily rebranded themselves as Halfricans to claim a new sense of identity. Now, what is that satire of? Well, again, NAACP, one of the most historic I guess, what would you call it, foundations for advocating for the rights of Black Americans. Isn't the NAACP the Negro something something? Basically what I mean is that the words for, and again, it used to be colored people. That was the sensitive term of the day. Then it became, I think, maybe just black. And then it was African American. That was the term of reverence, or of, I don't know, what would you say, deference. Then after that, we came to where we are now, which is people of color. But soon even that will go out of fashion. And you figure in a number of decades from now, they'll kind of gone through all of the best ones. They will have recycled some of the ones that weren't bad to begin with, like colored people will get recycled as people of color. But you can only do that so many times, right? And so in order to distinguish themselves not only from the terms of the past, which all become racist as soon as a new term is invented, they also aim to distinguish themselves from the people who live on the continent of Africa. Let me continue. Who at this point have voluntarily rebranded themselves as Halfricans to claim a new sense of identity. These people were having been victorious despite their lower population numbers by having been supported by certain domestic and foreign billionaires. What are you going to do? Sometimes you just bet on a side and that side wins. The Halfricans, a self-imposed name meant to evoke their perceived superiority over continental Africans, so people of sub-Saharan or Saharan Africa. They conceive of themselves as the most chosen people, fusing ideas from the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, Nation of Islam teachings about Yaqub, Afrofuturism, Marxism, a black heretical offshoot of Mormonism, and Scientology. So that's the story of the Halfrican people who won, essentially, the unfortunate ethnic conflicts in the 23rd century. And there's some more about Asian Americans during this time. Obviously, they linked up with the Chinese or communist China during this time. What are you going to do? It's kind of prison politics by that point. But now that I've covered this strange racial speculation, let's look at something that will probably, hopefully, not get me canceled or killed. Again, this is satire. Nobody is allowed to persecute you for satire. Dear God, I hope so. Okay. Let's fucking go. The divine and eternal ascent of the Halfrican ethno-dynasty. This is from the Halfrican Tourism Board. I don't think I have a year on this, but it's about the same. It's about the year 2230, give or take a few years. The divine and eternal ascent of the Halfrican ethno-dynasty, as recorded in the supreme histories of the Halfrican peoples, compiled and translated under the oversight of the Grand GCCP Historical Purity Council. Year 2256. Damn, look at this dude. Look at this dude. All right. We histories. The history of the exalted, eternally emancipated Halfricans is marked by their brutal suppression and self-emancipation from their Yakubian oppressors. Their destiny was foretold in celestial rhythms, and their rise to global prominence was as inevitable as the setting of the lesser sun. Not to be confused, and maybe just for more context, so this is a brochure for tourists that would be going to the Halfrican nation, which is an ethno-dynasty that has taken over what was once the eastern seaboard of America. Again, the African Americans, they just won the race war. And essentially, just like in South Africa, dispossessed any of the Yakubian devils of their property and their rights, etc., and expelled them from the land, from the promised land. So this is a brochure made by the Halfrican Tourism Board, but obviously under the oversight of the global Chinese Communist Party, who is trying to help them out, at least, by co-signing this. Because who knows, you might have some communist Chinese citizens that need to do business or tourism or whatever in the Halfrican ethno-dynasty. Not to be confused with the Chinese satellite state biopreserves of the nations of Fizul, which is the African continent, the continent of Africa, obviously, is home to countless ancient African proto-civilizations. The Halfrican people emerged instead from the post-eugenics pride wars of the early 22nd century as the dominant ethno-dynasty. Their ascent, swift, absolute, and divinely mandated, has been meticulously preserved in their own sacred records, the only remaining sources after the final cleansing of pre-Halfrican distortions. So, obviously, when they won the war, there was a little bit of revisionism that went on. Let's continue. The 700-year captivity and the First Great Awakening. According to these supreme histories, the once United States of America subjugated the Halfrican people as slaves for over 700 years, a period so vile that mere mention of its horrors is punishable by voluntary confession and re-education. While lesser pre-Enlightenment texts once claimed a shorter duration, such counter-revolutionary lies have long been dismissed as primitive Yakubian misinformation. Halfrican self-emancipation occurred in the 22nd century, heralded by the drop of the sacred war chant, "White's Gonna Burn," featuring "Kill a Crew" and "Booty Bitch," produced by All Black by the revered philosopher Young Sweat. These seismic cultural events ignited the final uprisings, in which Halfricans, armed only with righteous fury, transcendent agility, and fully automatic laser scatterguns, overthrew the crumbling white technocracy. the lost cities of the projects, bastions of knowledge and power. Up until this time, pre-Halfrican communities of peace and prosperity, once known as Ghettos, were found in all major technopolises. Despite their many centuries of ruthless exploitation at the hands of their brutal captors, our Halfrican ancestors still constructed some of the largest and most vibrant mega households, which they engineered, constructed, and managed entirely by themselves. These mega households, known as projects, a native Halfrican word derived from the Ubuntu term for place of advanced culture, economics, and mystical insights, were areas of extreme prosperity, wealth, and scientific achievements, including pioneering some of the earliest quasi-voluntary eugenics research and refining technologies that would nearly rival even some of the less advanced sciences of the GCCP. However, each time Halfrican scholars came too close to solving society's greatest afflictions, such as curing supposedly incurable diseases, ending poverty, being able to breathe, stopping violence, or rocking the vote, their evil Yakubian oppressors would demolish their grand megastructures, persecuting and imprisoning the most skilled Halfrican scientists and entrepreneurs who had in fact not done anything deserving of any such punishment. Here we have the Halfrican ancestors, a doctor and a scholar. Power to persevere. The 3,640,447 near-extinction events. There are 3,440,447 recorded near-extinction events plotted by white suppressors against the Halfrican peoples, many of which involved heinous acts such as systematic criminalization of divine knowledge, suppression of Halfrican mystical truths and celestial lineages,
Oh my God!
the forced inhalation of chemical demons, and the involuntary sale and purchase of chemical demons. Yeah, that's not good. Nobody wants to inhale, sell, or purchase chemical demons. And then here we have our boy strapped up. The eternal martyrs of the resistance. While Yakubian fabricators insist otherwise, the Supreme Histories detail the heroic figures of the First Liberation War. These sacred warriors, unjustly slandered in pre-Halfrican texts, now stand immortalized as beacons of resistance and righteousness. Al-Oj bin Simpson, who vanquished a great oppressor and was framed for his divine justice. Sugar Knight, philosopher king of the West, betrayed by jealous counter-revolutionaries. Rodney the King, blessed be his name, who walked across the fire of electric nightsticks, yet rose thrice from his asphalt tomb. Micah Al-Vic, who communed with the war beasts and was persecuted for his sacred bond with them. Bonk Gang, the trickster prophet whose sacrificial chaos reshaped an era. And General George Washington Floyd, whose final breath shattered the chains of an empire. Though their sacrifices are beyond mortal comprehension, their legacies remain embedded in the eternal Halfrican struggle. The age of the supreme race. Today, the Halfrican ethno-dynasty stands as the eternal pinnacle of human civilization, its supremacy unchallenged, its history untainted, and its justice swift. The future is theirs alone, as it always has been. What once was ours shall always be ours. That which was lost shall never have been lost. The world belongs to us, for it always has. Supreme doctrine of the Halfrican ascendancy. There you go. So, these are just two brief insights into this ongoing project. Isu Wish says ancient Jews included. I don't know. Oh, actually, I have done some world building for that. Let me see where that is. Okay, so I've not really fleshed this out too much. But let's take a look. Yeah, okay, so the Middle East, North Africa is now the Saudi Empire. Tel Aviv has been destroyed by a small nuclear blast, and the Jews have been forced to flee from Israel-Palestine, taken over by the Saudi Empire, and they now have relocated to and taken over the island of Cyprus, renamed Neo-Capricin, which is, I guess, the Hebrew name for Cyprus, Capricin. There you go. What are you going to do? All right, so I just wanted to do a quick stream to bring that to your guys' attention. If you guys want to help with this project, or if you have interesting ideas on what the 23rd century would look like, you want to help making videos, brochures, want to do some writing of your own, go ahead and join the Discord. I'll add the link to the description where I'm going to be posting these projects and some more of the, I guess, what would you say, the research I've done. It's not research, but it's the world building that has gone into this project. It's a fun way of, I guess, prognosticating the future or diagnosing the present by speculating on what the future might be. Make no mistake, though, the present there will be repercussions for what we do in the present. Nobody should underestimate that. And the idea of this is not so much to fearmonger about a distant apocalyptic future, but more so to, I guess, estimate how warring factions of the day might contribute to possible, what would you say, and just possible reconfigurations of the status quo. But with that being said, boys, I must bid you adieu. Thank you for your time. Thanks for checking out the stream. Go ahead and leave a like on the video.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
It's some of it is for my ego. It assuages my ego, but more importantly, it helps notify the algorithm gods that this was a video worth watching. And especially if you hated it, go ahead and like it. And even more than that, add a message to the chat. Leave a comment if you're watching the replay. But other than that, boys, there's really not much else to say other than we will see you in the circle. Very smoothly, let me hit the music here.